Can you tell us briefly how you escaped from the Soviet Union?
Practically, I could start preparation for defection 2 years ago when I was sent to the area adjacent to the Soviet-Iranian border. Uh, Before this, I couldn't make this. I have some thoughts about defection, but because of short ranges of plane, I couldn't make this because I served in central areas. 2 years ago, I was sent to this area and started preparation. When first it was just moral type preparation, I wanted to be sure that I'm making right step because it wasn't easy to make just from the first decision. And in January this year, I take off when I made final preparations such as map, fuel, navigational calculations. In January this year, I take off for cross-country flying in the clouds with my plane. This time I fly without cadets. After takeoff, when I entered clouds on the altitude about 600 feet, and I didn't enter a zone of radar because Soviet radars doesn't see about 12,000 feet around them. So in this blind area, I turned toward the Iranian border, and about half a minute flew on this altitude about 600 feet. Before entering radar zone, I descended to the ground, and now nobody from airfield could see me visually, although I was about 12,000 feet from the airfield because of poor visibility. And after this, I flew about 8 minutes above the Soviet territory toward the Iranian border, of course following route, which I pre-calculated before. And on the altitude about 15, 30 feet. Speed was not so big, about 560 kilometers. It's about 320, 30 miles. On this speed I flew. And before, of course, I made calculation whether Soviet surface-to-air missiles, I say two batteries in this type, could be dangerous for me. They couldn't do anything because of the technical characteristics. On this altitude, they are not working. And also one airfield near me of a plane, the C-15, flag gun interceptors were, and they could be some danger for me. But in ideal conditions, they couldn't intercept me because of long time to start engine, even if in alert number 1. And also radars of those planes, no radars, no missiles on this altitude can't work, and plane isn't equipped with any cannons, hasn't weapon, other than rockets, missiles. And so on the Soviet territory I was completely safe, and I flew about 8 minutes on this altitude speeds. Before entering border, I saw a little settlement of border guards, and I passed on this low altitude. This settlement distance was about 300 feet left. They were from me, and I saw a group of soldiers which looked at me. It were last people, Russian, who saw me, so to left good opinion about me. I made about 150 feet altitude and made them roll, demonstrated, and in a few seconds across the border. Of course, for flight above the Iranian territory was more dangerous for me. First it was dangerous. It's a meeting of Iranian Phantoms or F-5 freedom fighters or any other air defense weaponry. I thought before preparation about emergency landing or just landing on the airfields of Iranian Air Force in this area. I knew from intelligence information their location, but I decided not to do this because from this information also I knew that they are protected, good protected with the flak automatic weaponry and also missiles. And so I didn't want to make it on the airfield because of safety. Landing, I could make landing on the highway, but also I didn't want to make collision with the car and to have extra troubles with this my flight. So I planned mainly after fuel will expire my hull to make crash landing on the fuselage if area will be simple, or to bail if I couldn't make emergency landing because of the mountains or will be attacked by the Iranian Air Forces planes. And I flew to avoid those meetings with the planes, not to be detected by the radars. I flew about 2 hours deep into the Iranian territory, of course following a pre-calculated route, with the on the altitude about 4,500 feet, and it was above the tops of the mountains. I penetrated area, Iranian territory, about 600 kilometers. Totally was about 2 hours above the Iranian territory. And when I ran out of fuel, which I was expected, I turned toward the plane area of expected landing. Area wasn't so good for landing because some groundworks, but my plane had low landing speed, about 100 miles, so I expected to be safe and didn't want to bail. And because of the groundworks extensive on this area, my plane on landing, I made landing stopped engine before, I made landing without landing gears. Plane turned twice overhead, turned off wings, stabilizer, smashed nose and cockpit, and finally stopped on the belly. It turned twice. And so I hadn't any damages, and this way my flight was finished.